Joining me at this point in time is Akanksha from the CSIS, and that's not the important part. The important part is that we talk about currently the first half of the leg, which is almost the Prime Minister's journey is almost halfway through, and he has had some very critical meetings. Top two amongst them would be were with the intelligence czars of the American setup. First with the Director of National Intelligence and then the National Security Advisor. Of course, intelligence sharing for a country like India, particularly from a vast setup that the America has across the globe, always remains very, very critical, isn't it?
Right. Of course, I completely agree with you. Security remains one of the major focuses, and that's where, when we are working with between US and India cooperation, we do see defense, security, clean tech, technology transfers as very, very important topics that India and US can definitely collaborate and cooperate on.
And at this point when we speak, Mr. Elon Musk, somebody many would see as one of the foremost backers of President Trump at this point in this run-up to the second elections, is meeting Prime Minister Modi with his full family. What does those pictures, Mr. Musk with his complete family meeting the Prime Minister, what does that tell you? This is certainly more than official, semi-official meetings. It has an element of shared family values, shared ethics, also about hard work. Also about that's what Indian diaspora in the United States is all about, and those shared family values and cultures as well, right? Isn't it?
Right, of course. When we talk about Make America Great Again and Make in India, I see these meetings as something very, very promising. We've been talking about private sector investments, both in America and US, how Indian companies can come to US and how US companies can come to India. And I see this meeting between Mr. Modi and Mr. Musk as a very, very prominent step towards that direction. If I may just elaborate, electric vehicles in India we see has become a very predominant technology. Tesla here is of course a name everybody knows. What really happens when these meetings happen, I see them as paving way for a deeper partnerships. As you mentioned, ethics, family, all of these are very important dynamics when we talk about deeper collaboration between the countries. India has been focusing on electric vehicle adoption, creating jobs, attracting investment, and I am very hopeful that this meeting touches upon all of these aspects and comes out with all of these.
And yes, importantly enough, many people forget about, apart from Mr. Musk's own radical views and sometimes very hot-headed sort of positions. Many people tend to forget under that bombast that he's a very successful entrepreneur, and he's somebody who has redefined technology in a very vast swath of space, which can eventually have a very large and impactful thought and impactful ground under the feet when it comes to large populations like India. With the kind of technological interventions and innovations that he has done in the private sector, and which India would certainly want to flourish on the Indian shores as well, that kind of complete private competence, technology, capability, prowess.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Political views aside, both the countries definitely have very specific economic agendas also. When we look at India, of course, both the countries now are at a different space when we talk about clean energy and clean technologies. But we can move beyond the specific dynamics of these countries and see, technologies, and see that both the clean technologies now have become very, very economically viable. So it's not about pushing a certain agenda, but also seeing what economics will play. And that's where, like you rightly mentioned, Mr. Musk is a very good businessman. We see with the solar rooftops, electric vehicles, Starlinks, AI and other technologies, India definitely is a very big market for these technologies with 1.4 billion people living there. And I am very hopeful that very strategic investments can be culled out of these conversations, where India will see a growth in investments, growth in clean jobs, technology adoption, and the likes.
And it's interesting that you mentioned the solar rooftop policy, and the government of India under Mr. Narendra Modi. That's the latest and the biggest clean energy initiative, nationwide initiative that the government has undertaken. Never before. Nowhere in the world has that kind of initiative been taken on that particular scale, with government putting its full might behind it. Many say that, if India has to actually reasonably, logically, influentially progress, then clean energy sector will have to take its preeminent position, because unless we have access to clean energy, not energy anymore, but clean energy provided to all our citizenry spread across a huge, massive geography, which is not very easy in most places, then that is something that groundbreaking exercise we have to do, and government is trying and pushing in terms of clean energy. Now that brings me to a question, a question that many observers have been commenting upon, and I have particular thoughts on that. In terms of technology transfer, in terms of high-end technology transfer, be it clean energy or be it defense, but particularly technology that impacts the lives of the ordinary people. United States, Washington DC remains a capital that can facilitate that flow, and that flow is very, very critical for the betterment of the lives of our people. Prime Minister Narendra Modi almost has a dreamlike position on that the lives of the ordinary Indians improve and improve to a standard where it's comparable to anywhere best in the world. Do you think that Washington DC has now made up its mind that at least in terms of clean energy and in terms of energy cooperation and in terms of technology that impacts the lives of people, coupled with ingenuity that India has displayed in form of platforms like UPI and Aadhaar, must and should be transferred to India, if not on a real-time basis, because obviously big investment involved, then in a real-time framework.
Right. No, very valid point. Clean energy and what India has been able to do and showcase to the world when it comes to clean energy adoption is phenomenal. I don't think any other country has been able to show this much level of determination when it comes to clean energy targets. PM Surya scheme, like you mentioned, 30 gigawatts of solar rooftops. It's a scale that nobody could have imagined before, and it will require a lot of things: technology, financing, policies. All of things have to go in the right direction for this target that India has set for India to be able to achieve. And ordinary people, as you mentioned, the middle class in India comes at the cusp of all of this, because they will be the primary beneficiaries and the users of this technology. How I see technology transfer, of course, research and development is happening in US when it comes to solar rooftops, how grids can be more integrated with renewable energy technologies in terms of battery storage.
And of course, with the kind of temperatures that we see here in Texas and in most part of India, because solar energy at very high temperatures, at very high intense heat wave kind of conditions is also something that would require a special kind of technology.
Yes, definitely. Region-wise, US and India are very, very different. But when we talk about energy markets specifically, how these sectors have been progressing, at CSIS, we have been working very specifically on state-to-state cooperation, where we look at, say, Gujarat and California as counterparts to each other. There are a lot of lessons to be learned in terms of how these states have progressed in terms of adoption, policy making, financing of all of these technologies. And in our experience and the last decade of work that CSIS India Chair has done on this, I would say what you're saying between India and US at state level cooperation, there is a lot of space for people to talk to each other, to see how technologies can be transferred, to learn from each other. Not just technologies, but policies, financing, the tools and frameworks that have been adopted by different counterparts, to see what could be done right, what could be expedited, and how it can be done.
Thank you very much. Some very prolific views, I must say, coming on some people-friendly policies. And putting Mr. Elon Musk's endeavors also in correct light. Akanksha there speaking to NDTV. With that, back to you in studios and to Osama.